everybody. That was fun. I'm certainly going to be talking about some of the words on the bingo card today. So, programmatic and branding. Wow, it's bright up here. So I'm going to be showing you some research today. We teamed up with eConsultancy, which is a third-party research company, to talk to some of the leading brands, about 150 brands globally, about how they view branding in the upper funnel and programmatic. What does it look like today? What's holding them back, and what are the opportunities? Now, just as a level set, defining programmatic, as we know, the general automation of the media buying process. And within that overarching umbrella is real-time bidding, RTB, which is the buying of impressions one at a time based on lots of data in an auction format. Now, if we look at the marketplace and growth rates, overall advertising is doing well, up year over year about 15%. Programmatic, though, is up a whopping 55%. So this meeting of data and advertising is creating a lot of rich new opportunities for marketers, and we'll talk about what those look like. Okay, so first, a level set about Quantcast. We are an online measurement company and a real-time advertising company. Many of you in the agency world are probably familiar with our Measure product. We started back in 2006 with a pixel-based audience measurement product for free. So publishers large and small like BuzzFeed, Yelp, Time, etc. would place the Quantcast Measure pixel on their website. In exchange, they would get very rich, detailed demographic information on the folks coming to their sites: age, gender, income, ethnicity, etc. As more and more publishers adopted this free audience measurement tool, the insights became much more accurate and more rich. Today, that Quantcast Measure pixel is the third most deployed pixel behind Google and Facebook. So it allows us to see every single internet user in real time about 800 times a month. So that's a big, big data set. So we really leverage that to understand real-time consumer activity and help brands find new users exclusively in the exchanges using our proprietary real-time bidding technology. So we sit squarely in this RTB space. So let's look at Nestle. Here's a quote by Gwen Owen, who's the digital lead at Nestle. They were launching a new coffee maker in the UK, and they put together a programmatic nose-to-tail campaign, very rich in video, high viewability, with the goal of generating increased awareness for their new coffee maker, as judged by surveys and lift in overall awareness. Campaign was quite successful. Here's a quote. The biggest takeaway from this campaign is that programmatic does work for branding campaigns. A lot of people just think programmatic is for direct response. Tactically, the market has evolved over the last 12 months, and we've heard a lot of big companies, CPG companies specifically, Unilever, P&G, and many others, coming out saying that they're going to be putting more money into programmatic in the coming years. So let's take a look at some of the findings from the study. No surprise, programmatic is certainly moving up the funnel. 37% of marketers expect to increase programmatic spend for branding by 2017. And what's really leading the charge there are two key things. One is video, the ability for 15, 30-second spots to really tell that engaging story, just like on TV, sight, sound, and motion. The second is the high-impact units, right? Much more impactful units are becoming available both in the public exchanges as well as the private exchanges. We're seeing a big rise in private marketplaces and just much more inventory and high-quality inventory today than ever before. Certainly brand safety is important and front of mind for a lot of these big brands, as things as well like viewability, which we're having good progress on, and ad fraud as well, which is getting better, but still something to keep in mind as we enter into this programmatic space. So let's talk about some of the specific benefits. Increased efficiency and reduced overall advertising cost. Now I wrote something down, some metrics here I just want to read to get them right, because I found it kind of stark. 30% of media cost is spent servicing digital campaigns versus 2% in TV. And 8 to 12% of budgets are spent on media planning that takes 482 hours to complete. right? So those in the agency world can probably identify with the need for increased efficiency and more automation. It's really stark. And from a marketing perspective, wouldn't it be great if more of those ad dollars were going actually towards the media than the actual process of buying the media? So that's pretty much the number one thing we're seeing. We're hearing that a lot in our conversations with marketers. Ability to optimize and target the right audience in real time. Certainly all this data we have is opening up all new forms of targeting options. And certainly the opportunity to leverage our first-party data. So the marketers that we speak to really are realizing now that this data, this first-party data, is their strategic asset. So understanding how to harness that, understanding how to leverage that is becoming increasingly important. And it's first-party data. It's not third-party data. It's their gold first-party data. So we're seeing a big rise in DMPs. Data management platforms are really taking hold now as people try to get a unified view of all the data that are coming into their organizations, from email to social to display to search, and being able to slice and dice those audiences into distinct segments and then serve relevant advertising across these certain devices as well is becoming more important. Now that sounds great, it's the holy grail, but it's pretty difficult. Think of all the challenges that a big organization needs to go through politically, infrastructure-wise, getting the right knowledge set in-house. It's a big, big challenge. But certainly leveraging first-party data is something that's important. The ROI is there. And greater data and insights to understand their customers. Now, this is a big one. It's almost as big as the performance and the accessing and tapping into new audiences using data. We have a lot of advertisers tell us that the data and insights we provide are almost more valuable for learnings than anything else. A lot of these big companies, remember, are steeped in online. So they know a lot about their offline behavior, but they don't necessarily know how that translates into online. So marrying the offline behavior with all of the online data is really, really powerful. And that leads to the other one at the bottom there, opportunity to leverage third-party data, right? Marrying the online and the offline really brings rich insights that can help drive overall strategy and media planning in generally. But the challenges, certainly barriers still remain. Data privacy concerns is the big one. We're asked again and again, how are you going to use my data? How long are you holding on to my data? And a lot of advertisers and brands just don't know how their data is being used. Is it being pooled with other vertical advertisers? In some cases it is. So those are all good questions to know going into this. Difficulty proving ROI. Adam was just talking about that. This is an ongoing battle. Certainly in DR, there's a little bit more traction there, but the upper funnel, certainly a lot of opportunity to better understand ROI. Lack of quality of good data. This is a big one. At Quantcast, we commissioned a study with MediaSmith in San Francisco looking at the top data providers. And the test was who could serve an ad to an in-target demographic, let's say men 18 to 34, as validated by Nielsen. That was the test. And the results were all over the board. So really, data really does matter. The accuracy of the data matters, especially when you start talking about upper funnel media options like video, which are much higher CPMs. It really does matter. Complexity of the marketplace, right? We've all seen the Lumascapes. Adam was talking about that earlier. It is a complex environment that we're seeing. There is a trend to kind of consolidate their partners to make it less complex and control things like reach and frequency across device, attribution, duplication of serving the same ad to the same audience. Those are issues that are all being grappled with. So this trend towards consolidation is a real one. And then the lack of know-how, right? Finding the right skill sets to bring into the organization is going to be a long-term challenge. What you'll notice here, though, is brand safety issues and ad fraud are more towards the bottom. And I think that speaks to the progress we're making on some of these issues. Viewability is getting better. Fraud is an ongoing battle, but we're working with a lot of great partners that have a handle on this and are giving the big brands some comfort in terms of where their ads are being placed. So some key takeaways here. really a human-first orientation. What we mean by that is really understanding the consumer from a 360 viewpoint, right? Use the data to get a really good handle on not just the hypothesis that we go through in media planning, but what does the data really tell us about the audience? Who are they? What do they like? And how can you engage with them in different and new ways? Creative is certainly leading the way here. As I mentioned before, a lot more opportunity for video and high-impact units, just much more availability there. And lastly, the creative and the programmatic media. One thing to ask yourself in your organizations, especially if you're a brand, is how are the insights from the data teams making their way into the creative process? You know, where do they sit in the organization? Are they at opposite ends? Are they completely siloed, or are they actually sitting together? If not, are they at least having meetings together and talking about the data and the insights to really make programmatic branding much more impactful? And lastly, a quote here from Procter & Gamble: "Programmatic is inevitable." And we're definitely interested. It enables you to more precisely target and do it in a way at a valuable price, and then get a nice business lift from it. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions. We've got a little bit of time left, I think.
Thank you, Peter. We have about 30 seconds for questions, if anyone has any. Yeah, no questions. I have a very quick one for you. Would you watch the Ad Tech Industrial Complex movie, since programmatic is inevitable?
I certainly would.
Okay, good to know. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks
This
a lot.
was great.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to break for a very quick